30 seconds again.
It's fine. We just do it with 15 seconds. Ha-cha-cha.
We just do it with 15 seconds. My mom forgot to hit live. Yeah.
I try my best. I don't always succeed. I do what I can.
Hello! And welcome to Nobody Asked with Maria.
Hello!
And me. I'm her son.
Oh,
Today,
that's good to know.
We'll be discussing such topics as Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard trial, and also the Me Too movement, but only as it relates to this trial. I mean, maybe we'll kind of branch off or something, but for the most part, it's going to be centered around that trial.
Yep, that's what we're doing. We're going to discuss
because
it's the hot topic of the moment, and
that it is.
Then we are, what's the word? We lose interest in things and move on to the next thing quickly. So that's what we're doing.
Yep. Well, no, we'll get back to the evangelical thing, but not right now.
Not right now.
So, Mom, could you introduce our first topic?
Okay, so I kind of just want to go over the...
I'm just kidding. Today's episode is sponsored by Fingers. You know them. You love them. There's 10 of them when you're born, and then later, hopefully, still the same amount. They're very useful. You can do things like pick things up, put them down, and when you lose one, it's very difficult to get it back. So, this is just a public service announcement telling you to take care of your fingers and make sure you don't leave them around anyone that might throw any bottles, for example.
It's good advice.
That's good advice. This episode was sponsored in no small part by Fingers.
Fingers! Keep them attached as best you can.
Yep. Well, I mean, it's what I've done thus far, and it has not gone wrong.
That one hits close for me because I have, in fact, injured my finger before on a table saw with velocity.
Mm-hmm.
I bring that up because that was some language that was used in the trial, that his finger was injured with velocity as he was lying about what was happening to his fingers to the doctor, saying, "Oh, I smashed it in an accordion door." And they're like, "This looks like some velocity was involved." Because it mushrooms out when there's velocity. And I know because I literally injured the exact same finger. This one, the same one as Johnny Depp. The old flipper, the old bird flipper. But, I didn't cut it off so much as I cut into it and into the bone. So I can relate.
Did it hurt?
It did hurt.
But
you know what? I will say, once I heard it, I did not go and write nasty things on the wall with my blood.
Well, I wish I could say
the same. That's just me.
No, I'm more of I personally am more of a write nasty things on the wall with blood kind of guy. I also hurt my finger once, and you'll remember this, Mom. I was like 10, and I had just come back from rugby with the Boy Scouts, and I came to your bowling practice, and I said, "I think I broke my thumb." And then you said, "No, you didn't," because I was what you might call...
Can you move it? I said, "Can you move it? Does it move?"
And then you thought I was being dramatic when I couldn't. I couldn't move it past here.
You can move it. What do you mean you can't move it past there?
I can't move it past there. This is it. This is fully tensed.
Okay, but you could do this though. You could do this.
You could do this. Yes, I can make it go down. Yeah.
So your thumb does all of the thummy things you need it to do.
Except for give a thumbs up in a nice way. Okay, and that's pretty important. Suck it up, son was basically what my mom said.
I was bowling.
And if you were bowling, that's fair. And thumb, not super useful for my style of bowling. But if we were in court, I'm sure that your lawyer would bring up something Collins, a drama queen, which I was. I did think things were broken often. But it turned out that I was right about this one. which we later found out when I thought that I had broken my wrist, and I was wrong. But they're like, but your thumb was broken a while ago.
I appreciate that you can see the big picture, and I apologize. I will say, if you broke something there was almost nothing you could do about it, because we were in Belgium, and the military doctors, like, if they could take an X-ray, they couldn't get anybody to even read the X-ray for you for days. So I don't even know what they would have done for you. It feels like they would have done nothing.
You've got a little bit of interference on your audio right there. We can hear every word you're saying, but at the end of each word, it sounds like a bullet is going off.
Okay, I don't know what to do about that. I don't know how to correct that. Does it still sound like that?
Are you on Bose headphones?
Yeah, but I think it's using the mic on the Whoosy What's It.
On the Whoosy What's It? Well, why don't you switch it to the headphones?
Oh, you're right. It is using the Bose ones. Hello?
Hey.
Oh, wait.
Ellie Brewer broke her thumb at my house.
What's happening?
No, we can hear you, just for the record. I can hear you, yeah.
Okay. Now you're not in my headphones. Weirdly, that made the sound not come out of my headphones.
Okay, as per usual, we are incredible professionals. I will say that you should turn up your mic volume slightly for this new one, but you sound better.
It all the way up. I think it's all the way up. Hello?
Okay.
It's all the way up.
Then what I'll do is I'll turn up the volume, and there we go. I hear you better.
Okay.
Bing, bang, boom.
We're trying our best. I'm sorry you broke your thumb, Ellie. Wait, I can't remember how she broke it. I remember her breaking it. It feels like it was something weird.
Was it like on a football or something?
Was it bowling? It was bowling.
It was bowling?
I feel like it was bowling.
How the hell did she break that thumb bowling? All right.
I don't know.
All right. Okay, so now for legit real times, we're 7 minutes into the podcast, so how about we introduce that first topic?
Okay, so I just kind of wanted to start with a little bit of the rundown of, I guess, the timeline of things with regards to Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. So they seem to have met around 2009, 2008, 2009. It's difficult with Johnny Depp to get clear dates because he measures everything by movie time. What movie was I doing? He doesn't necessarily measure it by year, so I understand. But we're going to go with 2009-ish for the Rum Diaries. And he did testify about this, that when they met, his basketball. Whoops.
I think you're remembering that wrong, Ellie.
I think she knows how she broke her own finger. Okay, so they met on the Rum Diaries. It was a movie that involved an older man and a younger woman, and they wanted an actress who was, relatively unknown. And she had apparently auditioned many, many, many times, but the director just wasn't quite sure, but he still kept auditioning her. And so Johnny gave her some notes: watch this movie, learn about how to almost act less, slow down. Not every moment needs to be filled with stuff, with acting. So, and it was interesting. The only reason I bring that up is because when you watch Johnny Depp on the stand, you feel that very much. He likes to slow down the pace of everything and speak in metaphors whenever possible. So it was he's very, what's his name? Captain Kirk. He's very Captain Kirk up there. If you are watching with just headphones on and not looking at the screen, he comes off like he might be under the influence of something. But if you watch it with your eyeballs too, he just seems methodical in the way that he communicates. And he doesn't seem, So that's just some advice while you're watching, in my opinion, why he's like that. Okay, so they met in 2009. They did not start dating right away. They had a scene where they kissed, and it apparently gave him some tingly feelings, but it didn't really progress past that, although there were some moments in his trailer where it seemed like she maybe was trying to, turn it into something, even though she had a longtime girlfriend, which Johnny kept referring to as his wife, but I don't know if they were her wife, but I don't know if they were actually married. And he was in a common law marriage with Vanessa, who he was with for like 14 years. Mm-hmm. But nothing happened. Yeah, nothing. What do you want to call it? They didn't get together. There was a kiss. There was some kiss. There was a kiss exchange, but that was the extent of it.
Spark.
There was a spark. They didn't start dating until 2012 when they both had left their respective significant others. Ooh, excuse me. And they got engaged, but it was on the down low. Like nobody really knew they were dating at first. They're private people and were keeping it private. And then they got engaged in 2014 and then married in 2015. A lot of the stuff that we heard about at the beginning of the trial was while they were engaged. She was concerned about his drug and alcohol use. He does admit to having an addiction to roxicodone, which is like oxycodone, but I think it's missing an ingredient. It's just the opioid portion of it. He had gotten a back injury on Pirates of the Caribbean 4 from throwing a chair out a window, and he got a back injury, and he was taking roxicodone. And so he did have an addiction to that he was working with an addiction doctor to get past. She likes to make a big deal about his alcohol, about him drinking. He would stop periodically for long stretches. She would never stop. She could apparently, she could finish off 2 bottles of wine in a sitting. He would say things like, I'm stopping, maybe you could do this with me. And she'd be like, nah, bro, nah, I don't have to. You're the, basically you're the problem, not me. And to me, things like that, it already tells you she does not care about you in that way. She doesn't care to sacrifice wine for you. It's weird. If you literally think somebody has a real problem with alcohol, you do not drink in front of them. So for me,
you're firing off a gun again.
Me?
Yeah, your audio's all weird again.
Well, I don't know what to do about it. Should I just talk quieter?
Turn down your mic? Here, let's see. Do you have echo cancellation on?
Oh, let me turn that off.
Your settings? Okay.
I've got it off now. I don't know why that would matter, but
and it fixed it.
Well, there you go. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so a lot of that stuff happened before they even got married. But once he was able to make the time to get off of the opioids, it seemed like they had a brief period where they were both enjoying each other's company and they got married. Okay, so they got married in 2015, in February. Okay, this is where it gets good. In February of 2015, that's when they got married. In March of 2015, this is a month later, right? A month later, this is when he loses the old tippy tip of his finger. Yep. So they've been married a month. Just not, you know what I mean? In a month's time, they are constantly fighting. He keeps trying to flee the situation regularly. He will hide in bathrooms. He will hide in other rooms. Whenever they're traveling together, his sister would book an extra room in case he needed to escape. So, because she doesn't respect his boundaries. He says, whoa, this fighting's too much for me. I'd like to step back. She leans in harder and instead says, you're weak. Why can't you talk about this stuff? Why can't we get past this? Why can't we work through this? And he's just like, whoa, you're freaking me out. Let me out of here. So she doesn't care. She doesn't care. And when that would happen, when he would act that way, she would start throwing things. And she did. In fact, that's what we were talking about at the beginning. She threw a vodka bottle at him, like one of the big ones with the handle, threw the vodka bottle at him with some speed, and it severed the end of his finger. And the fighting didn't even end at that point. She's still raving, and she's calling him every name in the book, calling him weak, calling him, not a man. Meanwhile, he's writing on the walls with his fingers, and he's basically any mean thing she's attacking his character. So if he's doing the same thing back, basically writing that she's a cheater, he's writing Billy Bob Thornton basically on the wall. I mean, just gross stuff with his mangled finger. It's a very bizarre scene, and she's still screaming at him, and then
it's so cinematic.
It's cinematic, and that's the way he is. You can tell that he lives in the cinematic, or at least a book. He talks like all he does all day is read books, and so he talks like he's in a book. And then she puts out a cigarette on his face, right on his cheek, in the middle of all of this nonsense. And that's where you lose me. You don't listen. I didn't think that throwing a vodka bottle at him was self-defense, but I don't know. It could have been a back and forth between them. Something could have been going on. There could be a way to rationalize it. How do you rationalize putting a cigarette out on somebody's face?
Dude, it's so crazy. Well, I think that what you're getting at there is just that I think that we've talked a lot about in this show the fact that people are people. And so an outburst by a person, I think we're like, it's bad. You should apologize. But maybe once you've severed the finger of somebody, you should be able to take a step back and go, I think that most of us actually would have a reaction, right? Is like that you finally burst out and immediately your brain is like, oh, you probably shouldn't have done that, dude. And that's what makes you a human, right? Is when you have the outburst and then you immediately have the regret and you go, oh, Jesus, oh, God. Oh, and especially if it's to somebody that you love, you go, oh, my God, but give figure, let's go to the hospital, right? That's what like a human would do. But to then, after the finger severing, in the same instance, be still overcome by this feeling that somebody's running away, that you think, what'll keep him here is if I put a cigarette out on his face. We're getting a little bit more into you have got some serious problems or, abusive. And a pattern is really what makes abusive. I think there's two things that make abusive. There's crossing a certain line, and that line varies from different people. And then there's a pattern of behavior. And what we're constructing here is a pattern of behavior. Yeah. And what's so difficult with the pattern of behavior is that it's against someone who also has problems, clearly. I mean, clearly he has some post-traumatic stress that is going on here. He's got some drug and alcohol issues, maybe. I think that's up for debate. But I think that he considered them issues and tried to solve them and control them in his own life. But I don't necessarily think that stopping drinking, I've stopped drinking, and I don't think that means that before you had a problem. It just means that you wanted to stop. So, like, I don't know. I guess the question is, the thing that makes it complex is that he is this character that wants things to be cinematic and that has all of his own quirks. And so you end up in a situation where you're like, well, he is a little strange. So maybe something's going on. Ashley Nicole said, I think that's what I really am trying to read this the way that she wants to do.
What a human with decency would do.
Oh, I see. That's what a human with decency would do. Not necessarily just a human. There are plenty of psychopaths. Okay, yeah. Where, me, I'm calling psychopaths animals. I have less empathy for psychopaths than psychopaths have for actual people. So, but still in the same thing. And I always think that Diamond Girl looks like Christina P. in her profile picture. An abuser will make you doubt yourself. She used what means something to him to attack him, hurt him, try to destroy him. Yeah. Well, I think that she's also certainly conscious of his history with his mother, if we want to kind of jump into that briefly.
Yeah. So, on the first day he talked, he rambled for a long time, and it didn't at first seem, you didn't understand why they were letting him go down this road. But I think once you follow along long enough, you understand why he was going down this road. He's talking about his family dynamic, that his mother basically would find everybody's weaknesses and then pick at them and pick at them and pick at them, and was physically abusive, was emotionally abusive, and I think directed a lot of it at Johnny specifically, but would get everybody, would belittle the dad, and his dad was a softer person and tried his best to I guess to defend himself by becoming a rock. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He was gray rocking a little bit, trying not to do the things that would get her going, or not to, would follow her direction. If she said Johnny needed to be whipped, he would do what he was told. He would, and then later on, I think he realized he made some mistakes and he was approaching it a different way. And his dad ended up leaving the relationship. And Johnny thought, boy, that was cowardly to leave. Why would you leave? But now, through the lens of time, he's like, that's the only thing you can do. There's a point where leaving is the only solution. It's the right solution. Letting somebody berate you constantly under the illusion of fixing the relationship is a lie. It's not going to work. And I think that's kind of how he saw his dad. And I have a feeling how he saw this Amber Heard relationship at a certain point. At a certain point, you're like, there's no repairing this. We don't need to keep talking about it. Let's let it be done. Let's try to end this in a civil manner. I will take care of you as through this. Let's not destroy each other's lives and career over it. It didn't work. But that was not enough for her.
Yep. Your audio is doing the thing again. We gotta hit one of your settings. This is going to be an ongoing issue.
I don't know what to do, Colin.
Well, it stops whenever you change something with your audio. I think that you probably need to update your operating system. Are you on your iPad?
Yeah.
Okay.
I probably do need to update it. Okay, I'll keep that in mind for the future.
But every time, we have a private chat on our thing. Every time that I ping you, just change something with your audio. Because literally every time you change something with your audio, it fixes it.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Well.
Sweet.
Okay. Okay. I don't know where we left off. Okay. So that was March. So that was a month into their marriage. We are already in full chaos mode. Also, she would bring up his drug use constantly, but all indications are she was doing drugs very regularly, maybe different drugs. She liked ecstasy. She liked mushrooms. I have a feeling he was implying that she also liked meth, but he didn't say that directly, so I'm not gonna swear to that one. Okay, so that was March. By April, he was done with this relationship. He was out the door, and she was still in the apartment that they lived in.
By April of that same year?
By April,
2 months after they were wedding?
Oh, no, you're right. It was a year later. April. Okay. It was a year later in April. He had left, and there was an incident that there was shit in the bed, I guess is the best.
I saw that on the live stream, them talking about that.
Yeah. The best part was that he called it dropping a grumpy. Somebody had dropped a grumpy.
Okay.
Apparently, the maid that he's had for 30 years had sent him a picture and told him there is a lot of shit in the bed. I guess Amber had been out with her friends at Coachella, and the next day there's shit in the bed. She's like, this is from the dogs. Apparently they had tiny teacup Yorkies. So one would think you could tell the difference between tiny Yorkie poop and human-sized poop. And, I don't know if he really made a big deal about it or not, but it was sort of like, he was just like, this is disgusting. This is, egregious, but I can't be near her right now. So I don't know what level he interacted with around it, because it got very confusing to me.
Yep.
Either way, she says it was the dogs. He doesn't believe her because he believes his maid more. Fine. He had indicated to her, that he would like to get a divorce, but he doesn't file for divorce. He just tells her, I want to get a divorce. She's the one that ends up filing for divorce. And she also files for a restraining order. And when she files for the restraining order, she appears to have some sort of a bruise on her face, right? And this is when I think the media gets a little bit like, whoa, what happened here? We've been hearing all of these weird stories about, they had an altercation on the set and he lost a finger. We're hearing about all this weird stuff, and now she's got a bruise on her face. Oh my gosh, what's going on? And to hear his side of that story, he had went to her house sometime in May, probably maybe a week before this restraining order is what I'm guessing, because he wanted to get some of his things, and they were going to kind of just talk about how they were going to go about the dissolution. Because in his mind, he thinks that we can do this all calm and smooth. He brings friends with him. He's like, basically, I need witnesses here. So if you guys need to leave to go do something, get back real quick. If you need to go take a smoke break, come back real fast, because any minute this stuff can go sideways, and I need witnesses to this. Yep. So they're sitting on the couch. Apparently, it's a very big couch. and they're having a nice discussion, right? And then I don't remember. I didn't write down exactly what happened. Anyway, at some point things kind of go, oh, she brings up, that's what it is. She brings up the shitting in the bed. He's not trying to make an issue of the shitting in the bed, but she keeps bringing it up. Like she's trying to pick a fight with him about the shit in the bed. It was the dogs. It was the dogs. I don't believe you, but moving on with my life. It wasn't like she's trying to pick a fight. She's trying to get him mad about this dog issue. And he's trying not to take the bait. So there's a point where he gets up and he's now in the kitchen that's 20 feet away, according to him. He's 20 feet away, and one of his friends that had left has now come into the door, right? And she starts yelling, "That's the last time you'll ever hit me," and stuff like that, as if he's just hit her. He is on the other side of the room, and she is making this spectacle as if they had just had a fist fight, because nobody could see, but now he's at the door, so we're going to make it seem like that's what happened. So she is creating this whole narrative so that I think when she files for divorce, so that it looks like, she's got grounds and, a real specific type of grounds where he's the bad guy. She needs him to be the bad guy for some reason. They can't both come out clean as a whistle. He's got to be the bad guy. Obviously this starts to get out in the media, but he's riding the wave. Huh?
Sorry. So he had friends there, and they had okay. He had friends there, but then she does this. Did she just time it perfectly with then there was no witnesses at that moment, or are there other people attesting?
So I haven't heard anybody testify about this incident personally, so I don't know.
This is Red Bull.
Ooh, I didn't know that was what color Red Bull was.
I didn't either until Ellie poured Red Bull into a glass.
You just think it's red in your mind. It's called Red Bull.
You know what? I thought it was light blue.
Weird.
This is the color of the can. It's like a Mountain Dew thing. You know how Mountain Dew actually looks like piss, but they have the green bottle? Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So I'm not sure because, they made it look like there was going to be a cajillion people on the witness list. Like anybody is going to get called in. Various famous people. Elon Musk might show up, to do a deposition over Zoom. But that's not where we are yet, so I don't know. This is just him unraveling his part of the story, basically implying that she created this story to make it look like I beat her up, right? And goes and get this restraining order while I'm in Europe, because by the time the restraining order comes out, he's not even in the United States. He's on tour with his band in Europe, and it was like,
Johnny Depp has a band?
What? Yes, he very much does.
Oh my gosh, I would kill to go see Johnny Depp, after, oh my goodness. Okay.
Well, look at it. Okay,
awesome.
So they end up getting divorced in August of 2016. So she filed in May. They're divorced in August. Oh, I did also want to say where the restraining order is concerned. So she filed this restraining order saying that he physically assaulted her. But when, sorry. Okay, so he filed the restraining order saying...
Dude, I don't know how it works every time.
I don't either.
Little behind the scenes, she mixed the audio again. So it's just like, your mic is getting tired and it's deciding to clip, and then you just have to flick it awake.
Weird. Okay, so anyway, what were we saying? Oh, the restraining order. So, she was granted a temporary one, and then when it was time for the hearing for it, she recanted the whole thing so that the hearing wouldn't happen. So I don't know what that's about, but okay. There's just all
certainly not good for her side.
Not good for her side. But they end up getting divorced in August. So May to August that's a pretty quick turnaround to me on what I'm sure is a relatively contentious divorce. And Amber is awarded $7 million that she says she's going to give to charity. Apparently it was supposed to be like, she wasn't supposed to say what charities or something. And as soon as she did, he felt like, oh, okay, now I know. I'm going to just start giving that money directly to the charities instead of going through you first, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because he doesn't believe that she's going to give it to the charities. She says she's going to give it to, I can't remember. One of them is a children's charity, and one of them is the ACLU. And
Yep.
so he starts just making the checks out in her name to those things, and she's like, he's trying to get tax exemption for this. He should have to pay me twice as much. He should have to pay me $14 million now because this is shenanigans.
But it's in her name, right?
It is in her name, but he's paying it. So I don't know. That was just that's what she complained about.
All right.
So,
Well.
okay. So then we get to 2 years later. Okay. It's 2 years later. It is December of 2018. And she writes an article, an op-ed piece in the Washington Post that is titled, "I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change." All right, let me pull it up. Boop.
Are we on?
Yep, we're on. That
Okay.
has to change. Okay. Scotchy. This is the article from the Washington Post. So, oh, it's so tiny. I pull it up on my phone, then I can read it. Unless you can read it, and then
do you want me to read it?
Sure, you can read it.
Okay, I'm gonna read the whole thing. Should I do a voice or should I just give it its due?
I mean, just make it sound good. Don't make it ridiculous.
Don't
I
make it
don't think it's
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
Well, first, Amber Heard is an actress and an ambassador on women's rights at the ACLU. So, there's that. Okay, this is how the article reads. I was exposed to abuse at a very young age. I knew certain things early on without ever having to be told. I knew that men have the power, physically, socially, and financially, and that a lot of institutions support that arrangement. I knew this long before I had the words to articulate it, and I bet you learned it young too. Like many women, I had been harassed and sexually assaulted by the time I was of college age, but I kept quiet. I did not expect filing complaints to bring justice, and I didn't see myself as a victim. Then, 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse, and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out. Friends and advisors told me I would never again work as an actress, that I would be blacklisted. A movie I was attached to recast my role. I had just shot a 2-year campaign as the face of a global fashion brand, and the company dropped me. Questions arose as to whether I would be able to keep my role of Mera in the movies Justice League and Aquaman. I had a rare vantage point of seeing in real time how institutions protect men accused of abuse. Imagine a powerful man as a ship like the Titanic. That ship is a huge enterprise. When it strikes an iceberg, there are a lot of people on board desperate to patch up holes, not because they believe in or even care about the ship, but because their own fates depend on the enterprise. In recent years, the Me Too movement has taught us about how power like this works, not just in Hollywood, but in all kinds of institutions, workplaces, places of worship, or simply in particular communities. In every walk of life, women are confronting these men who are buoyed by social, economic, and cultural power, and these institutions are beginning to change. We are in a transformative political moment. The president of our country has been accused by more than a dozen women of sexual misconduct, including assault and harassment. Outrage over his statements and behavior has energized a female-led opposition. Me Too started a conversation about just how profoundly sexual violence affects women in every area of our lives. And last month, more women were elected to Congress than ever in our history, with a mandate to take women's issues seriously. Women's rage and determination to end sexual violence are turning into a political force. We have an opening now to bolster and build institutions protective of women. For starters, Congress can reauthorize and strengthen the Violence Against Women Act. First passed in 1994, the Act is one of the most effective pieces of legislation enacted to fight domestic violence and sexual assault. It creates support systems for people who report abuse and provides funding for rape crisis centers, legal assistance programs, and other critical services. It improves responses by law enforcement and prohibits discrimination against LGBTQ survivors. Funding for the Act expired in September and has only been temporarily extended. We should continue to fight sexual assault on college campuses while simultaneously insisting on fair processes for adjudicating complaints. Last month, Education Secretary Betsy DeVos's proposed changes to Title IX rules governing the treatment of sexual harassment and assault in schools. Okay, well, sorry, I just read that wrong, but who cares? While some changes would make the process for handling complaints more fair, others would weaken protections for sexual assault survivors. For example, the new rules would require schools to investigate only the most extreme complaints, and then only when they are made to designated officials. Women on campuses already have trouble coming forward about sexual violence. Why would we allow institutions to scale back supports? I write this as a woman who had to change my phone number weekly because I was getting death threats. For months, I rarely left my apartment, and when I did, I was pursued by camera drones and photographers on foot, on motorcycles, and in cars. Tabloid outlets that posted pictures of me spun them in a negative light. I felt as though I was on trial in the court of public opinion, and my life and livelihood depended on myriad judgments far beyond my controls. I want to ensure that women who come forward to talk about violence receive more support. We are electing representatives who know how deeply we care about these issues. We can work together to demand changes to laws and rules and social norms and to right the imbalances that have shaped our lives.
Honestly, I thought that was a great op-ed piece. Now, what did any of that have to do with her and her relationship with Johnny Depp? It's hard to say. Like all she said was, I've now been put in the spotlight as a person who has been a victim of domestic violence. I think that was the best. I don't know. Is that exactly how she said it? That's probably not how she said
it. Domestic abuse is how she said it. And then she cast herself as somebody that was beaten by the powers that be connected to the men in power. It was actually a good, I feel like it would be a good article. I mean, not incredibly substantive, but a good article if it was written by, someone that fit the description she gave herself. But because of who she is, it takes a lot of the power of it away, because you're like, this seems like it's almost only to recast myself. I am like a crazy ex-wife who was herself an abuser, but I'm actually, if I just write it passively and have like the paragraphs accepted, I'm actually the victim of abuse, and I was cast in a bad light because of rape culture, and not because I myself was, an abuser of my husband.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, everything she said is true. Men are treated differently than women are treated in this kind of stuff, but it's really hard because I wanna, everything she said there felt like a true to my heart feelings. Like I felt everything she said, but I agree. Is it her? Is that her, or is that her just taking an opportunity? You know? So
I don't know.
It's hard because she was right. We were in the middle of the Me Too movement. Here's another important caveat. This was 3 days from the Aquaman premiere. So was she put up to this? I feel like everything has an ulterior motive when you make it to that level. Here I'm in this weird universe here on YouTube where everything gets looked at strangely. People get death threats here, and it's like we're in like a small microcosm of what she's probably experiencing. I believe that she experienced that part of it. I believe that she was probably sexualized and abused before her college years. I believe those parts are probably true. But it's really hard because this is the crux of the defamation case. It has everything to do with this article. She doesn't say his name, but she says 2 years ago, I kind of became the face of this thing that I maybe didn't want to become the face of. So the only way to read that to me is to imply that in her relationship with Johnny Depp, she was she was abused domestically, right? That's the only way to read that, and therefore, he is a domestic abuser. So I understand why he is suing her here, but is this enough? Because they can't go before this time period. Anything she said before, it has to start at this article. And so let me talk about the 5 things that you need in order to prove defamation. First of all, defamation is the action of damaging someone's good reputation in oral or written communication. So the first thing is that it must be considered fact and not opinion. You are saying this happened to me. So what she's saying is for this to be true is I was abused by my spouse. And it's a fact. It's not an opinion. That happened. So that's the first thing that would have to be true. Well, not to have to be true. That would have to not be true. But that would have to be what she is putting out there. The second thing is that the plaintiff, the person who you are suing, is the one who is making this claim. She wrote that article. It's on her. So I think that's why the Sun, because he sued the Sun for defamation. You know, they weren't. This information was through her to them, I guess. You know. So anyway, so it's made by her. The next one is it's not true. So to prove defamation, you have to prove that what they are saying is false. He's going to have some problems because there were times when they were at a minimum mutually combative. But, you know, I don't know. And, that it was published by a third party, the Washington Post, and that it causes damages. And I think he's saying, I didn't get to do Pirates of the Caribbean 5 or 6. I don't know. There's so many of them.
That or Secrets of Dumbledore, right?
So that one isn't being brought up because he resigned. Even if it was a forced resignation, they're making it about Pirates of the Caribbean. That's what they're making it about. Okay. So those are the things that he needs to meet based on defamation. And it has to revolve around that article that you just read, where she does not mention his name. She doesn't even really mention abuse. She mentions the culture and how the culture treats the victim, really. That's what she's talking about. How women
being the victim of domestic abuse.
That's the extent of it. Yes, she mentions being the victim. So I think he's going to have a hard time in winning. However, I think the court of public opinion might be different. And I think that matters too. He is becoming hypervigilant about proving what he feels is the truth, right? He doesn't want to be, he doesn't want to be, feeling that all of these disparaging things are out there about him, because throughout their relationship, she said all of these terrible things about him. You are weak. You are not a man. You are addicted to everything. You are just a bad person all the way around. And when somebody says that to you enough, you start to believe it. You're like, am I this bad person? Am I this bad? And he dealt with that with his mom. Am I this weak, terrible, bad person? And I think he's at a point where he's like, no, I am not. And you can see, points where it seems like he tried to white knight a little bit. Like he's going out of his way to be the good guy in his life because of the damage in his life. It feels like he, like you saw him dressing up as Captain Jack Sparrow and going to hospitals and seeing kids. Like he did that over and above what most people would do. And even in the Rum Diaries, there was a scene where she was initially supposed to be topless, but he realized, through the way that the scene was set up, that she didn't actually need to be. And he kind of white knighted and said, look, you don't have to do this. You don't need to be made uncomfortable in the scene by being nude, because it was a rape scene. So it could all be implied.
Are you saying that he was white knighting after the allegations, or
no? This was earlier. That was earlier. I'm just saying he has a little bit of a white knight complex where he goes out of his way to be a good dude, and you can just see it. But I don't think it's the kind where I view it as narcissism. I view it more as he's extra careful to not be these terrible things that have been drilled into his head that he is. Like Amber keeps calling him a monster and a demon, all of these things. And it's like, am I a monster and a demon? No, I'm not. Let me go out of my way to prove to myself that I'm a good guy. And so that hurts me a little bit watching.
Yeah, that sucks. I also hate the term, just to throw it out there, do hate the term white knight. Feels a little bit like no one can fucking win. I don't know why I, of all people, would hate the term white knight, but it's just like damned if you do, damned if you don't. Some fucking times, dude. Like that. Yeah. Half the time, men are being told like, "Hey, you're in power." It's just like this. That like certain things with white privilege is just like you're told that if you're not doing something with your power, then you're part of the problem. And then you do something and it's like, it's white guilt or it's white knighting. And it's like, what if you shut the fuck up? Because you're stepping on your own fucking toes here. That, oh no, there's guys that care about women's issues and that can legitimately see the struggle of women in certain situations. Let's call him shitters for it. Fuck you, dude. Fuck you in the term white knight. And we're pulling it back. All right.
Okay, well, I will briefly go down that road with you. I will say, I think what you had, the risk or maybe the mindset that you might have to approach while you're trying to do the right thing is uh, the idea that you know what's better for somebody. I think that's where it gets stuck. Is like you think, well, I'm helping. Look at how much better this is for you. It's like, well, nobody asked you to do this thing. What you think is better for me, it might not be what I think is better for me. And that's kind of how I feel a little bit when we're talking about that Amber Heard situation where she's doing a scene where she's, she's going to be topless and it's a rape scene. Did she, at no point did he bring up that she was saying, oh, this is going to be hard for me or anything. She's agreed to do the scene. And now he's coming in saying, oh, this must be traumatizing for you. And this scene is very traumatizing because of the nature of the scene. Let me come in and rescue you and try to make this better for you. Who asked him? You have no idea how she feels about it. It's the assumption that you know how it feels for them or how they particularly feel. So
I see that point.
okay.
That I see what you're saying there. I do think that to me, when I hear white knight, I think more about somebody doing it in order to get the adulation that they get from being a quote good person. It's like an attack on motives, right? It's like you're not doing a good thing for good reasons. And I think that's there are people that fit that description. And I mean, sure, yeah, they're not doing good things for good reasons and screw them. But just because I think that when you see the tapestry of Johnny Depp and his being a victim and the idea that he might be trying to kind of reclaim himself from his past, I think that his motives, I think it would be fair to say that his motives might not be the adulation that he gets for being good. It might be that he himself has been a victim of something, or he's been close to victims of certain things, and he knows that people don't. This is half of what's said in the article, is that people don't speak up when they feel this way. And he says, well, when I was in that situation, if only someone had spoken up for me, right? And he wants to be that person, right? And that is doing good things for good reasons. So I don't know.
It's hard to be a hero,
a little close to home for Colin.
Okay, but let's go. We can pull back White Knight and we can just say I feel like he's got a hero complex a little bit, and then let's just go all the way back to The Incredibles, the very first, the first Incredibles movie. We got Mr. Incredible saving this guy from jumping off of a building, and then he gets sued by that guy saying, you didn't save my life, you ruined my death. It's the assumption that you know what's good for somebody without asking them, just presuming.
Give me a fucking break. The whole
I went too
point.
Far?
Okay, well, I'm just saying that your analogy sucks. That if you watched Incredibles, and you thought that Mr. Incredible was wrong for saving the guy jumping to his death, if that was what you pulled from that opening scene in Incredibles, I think that you should go back to school. Okay?
What?
Because
that's what happened. He literally said,
Mr. Incredible was not wrong. He did ruin his death. Because suicide is not something that we as a society have gone, well, he's going to do it. Also, jumping off a building is one of the most selfish ways to kill yourself, okay? Like, if somebody's going to scrape you off the ground, and I know people that have seen somebody fall off a building, it's fucking traumatizing. So you're taking your death and your sadness, and you're like, how about on the way out, I fuck up someone else's shit? Dude, go fuck yourself. If you pulled from Incredibles that Mr. Incredible was wrong, what was wrong was it was a little bit of a commentary on the legal system and on lawsuits. I think that you could pull that. Okay, but your perspective is bad. Okay, I can't believe it. We've created entire institutions. There's a whole, if you learn, like if you go to be a police officer or a fireman, you learn how to deal with people that are on the ledge, right? And none of what you're writing, none of what you're reading when you're learning about that is how to identify if they really want to kill themselves. Because if they do want to kill themselves, then let them jump. No, that's not. It's how to get them off the ledge. That's what Mr. Incredible is doing. What?
But he wasn't talking him off the ledge. He just swooped in and snatched him off.
Because he's trying to save him from killing himself. Dude, what? Dude,
this was fun.
This is an insane. I can't believe that we've ended up here. And by the way, the logic that we're using here, that's like oh well, you don't know. Let them make their own decisions, dude. This is fucking. Yeah, this is the wet dream of every New Yorker, because every New Yorker wants to give themselves. Every New Yorker wants to give themselves an out when they see something terrible happening and they're like, I don't want to deal with it, and they walk past it. They're like, well, I mean, if that person didn't want to get mugged, he should have said something about it. Go fuck yourself, okay? Know when things are wrong and then act on it. And if someone calls you a white knight, kick them in the crotch, okay? Just do it.
That doesn't seem like the solution.
No, I think it is.
We got to find somewhere in the middle.
I can't believe it. And I'm sure that people that were like, victims of abuse as children or in relationships, right? And you're in a completely different mental space when you're in that place, right? If somebody then came and interfered, and then some motherfucker on a podcast was like, well, I mean, they're making a lot of decisions for you, aren't they? That person's a bad one, the person that interfered. That would be insane. Hey, Scott Lynn, it is wrong to jump off a building, okay? Just throwing it out there. There's a lot of ways to kill yourself. Jumping off a building, bottom tier. Don't do it. Don't kill yourself.
It's not a great choice.
I'm a big advocate. At least do psychedelics before you kill yourself. Don't kill yourself. And then, if you are, don't jump off a building.
All right. I agree to your terms. I shan't do that. And if I do, I will take psychedelics first. And then if I jump off the building, on psychedelics.
Well, that would be weird. Okay, we can go. We can get into this. But take psychedelics in a good setting. Oh my gosh, Ellie.
She's in comment jail. Who's in comment jail? Ashley, how'd you get in comment jail? I see you. Wait.
I think her comments weren't. She wasn't able to post them for some reason.
Oh yeah, I didn't see her comment. Let's see. No, I haven't seen her comment in a long time. Okay, I don't know.
Back to Johnny Depp.
Okay, back to Johnny Depp. Okay, where were we? Oh, I'm saying that he was white knighting. Can he make it through this defamation case? I don't know. But he does say he has video, photographic, and eyewitness proof, and we did see. So if you were watching it, we did see some. We saw a picture of him at the hospital with the burn mark on his cheek and with his finger messed up. I don't know that that's proof of anything other than that those events happened, but I don't know who's disputing that those events happened. But we also do hear some audio of some of her behavior.
Do you want me to pull that up?
Yeah, pull that up.
Okay, let me just make sure that I have the right one. It's the... Wait, which one's which? I got it. Don't worry.
Okay.
Don't worry, everybody. I have got it. So you just hold on to your butts. Okay. You just play from the beginning?
Yeah.
Of kicking me out the door with the fucker hitting me.
Yeah,
and your memory is gone from you kicking the bathroom door and hitting me in the skull as I was bent down. Wait,
sorry.
If you have those memory fucking divots.
I was upset. There was a lot going on, and I was on an Ambien. Like, why are you obsessing over the fact that I can't remember it the way you remembered it? I said I was sorry.
Okay,
I didn't deny it.
I'm not talking about that. What I want.
Let's give it a second.
It's not it's just to get out of a bad situation while it's happening before it gets worse. In Australia, when we had the big fight where I lost the tip of my finger, at least 5 bathrooms and 2 bedrooms I went to.
To avoid talking to me. To
avoid
escape working it out. That's
to escape the fight.
You don't escape the fight. You escape the solution.
No.
You escape the solution.
No.
You escape figuring it out. We cannot work it out if you run away to the bathroom every time.
Listen to me. Listen to me. A boxer can't go 12 rounds without a fucking minute break.
I'm not giving you a minute break. You do it at minute 3 at the beginning of an argument.
No. There are rounds, man. And when it gets too fucking hairy, the ref splits them apart or whatever. But all I'm saying is, you can't have a solution if the argument just keeps mounting and mounting and mounting and mounting. I fucking go into the bathroom and sit on the floor. Bam, 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 here you come. I come out. Fight, crazy, escalated. I go split again, I go to another fucking bathroom or a bedroom or something. Knock, 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 bang, bang, bang. You kept coming to get me. Fucking pots and
those are different. That's different.
Else at me.
That's different. That's one does not negate the other. That's irrelevant. It's a complete non sequitur. Just because I've thrown pots and pans does not mean that you come and knock on the door. Just because there are vases does not mean that you come and knock on the door.
Really, I should just let you throw.
I'm not saying that. You're saying that. You're putting words in my mouth and then making non sequiturs.
I'm giving you a situation.
No, you're trying to justify how you don't or do come to the door based on whether I throw pots and pans. It's irrelevant.
I'm justifying how you seem to think that there's this cowardice in me that runs away and I don't fight for you.
And you're justifying that by saying I throw pots and pans? Okay, cool. Let's talk about everything you do wrong.
I'm not the one who...
Brutal.
What aboutism there? Why don't we talk about that then? I think there's a little bit more.
And also claiming it's a non sequitur. I don't know.
She throws pots and pans, vases, whatever's laying around. Just chuck it at him.
It was so interesting to hear her talk about the like. So I mean, obviously she kind of recognizes in that the cutting off the tip of his finger incident was related to a fight, and it's interesting that when he brings that up, she still uses it as evidence for her side. I think that's a little bit of a peek into her brain that there was a fight in which she threw something and like seriously hurt him. And she's like, see, you were running away from the problem. And this is months after that. And she still feels like she was right in that situation. I think that's a revealing
from the solution. Oh.
I think
the last part, she gets real nasty. So.
Okay.
Travis, I said to you, hey, tell Travis what just happened.
You told me to do it. You told me to. You said, go do that.
I said, no, tell him what just happened.
And I lied.
And that you punched me in the fucking thing. And
you figured it out.
And you said, no, fucking, I didn't. What the fuck are you talking about? And I watched you lie. And then
I didn't punch you, by the way. I'm sorry that I didn't hit you across the face in a proper slap, but I was hitting you. It was not punching you. Babe, you're not punched.
Don't tell me what it feels like to be punched.
You know, even a lot of fights been around a long time. I know. Yeah.
No, when you fucking have a close.
You didn't get punched. You got hit. I'm sorry I hit you like this, but I did not punch you. I did not fucking deck you. I fucking was hitting you. I don't know what the motion of my actual hand was, but you're fine. I did not hurt you. I did not punch you. I was hitting you.
How are you?
What am I supposed to do? Do this? I'm not sitting here bitching about it, am I? You are. That's the difference between me and you. You're a fucking baby.
Because you started.
You are such a baby. Grow the fuck up,
Johnny.
Johnny.
You started physical fights?
I did start a physical fight.
You did, so I had to get the fuck out of there.
Yes, you did. So you did the right thing, the big thing. You know what? You are admirable.
She's awful.
Yeah, she's a cool lady.
Who says that stuff? Who says, I didn't punch you, I hit you, you know? And he's like, you don't get to tell me what that felt like. You're a baby. You know, oh, you're so admirable. You left. All the time she's saying every time he leaves, he's wrong to leave. She's just, if a man said all of the things she said, there would be no question. There would be no blurry line about how he felt about it.
without a doubt, because it would fit into this already known mold of what a male abuser sounds like. And you would go, oh, I've seen so many movies about this and I've heard about this so many times, and this is what it sounds like. And immediately you would just connect the two. But because it's just not in the zeitgeist as much what a female abuser sounds like, I think that people find themselves justifying it just a little bit more because they're not used to seeing it. It doesn't fit into an archetype that they know already. And the only way really that you can get someone that feels that way to see it is just to switch the names around and be like, what if you read it like this? Dude, it's just brutal to listen to, man.
I think it's also a pretty classic narcissistic move to switch roles, right? To say, I'm the victim, you're the abuser, when really it's the other way around. It's real classic, and you can see that the person who's the victim can be confused by it. They're like, am I the bad guy? I don't know. I can't tell anymore. I don't know what's right and what's wrong and what's up and what's down. I just know that when I leave, you won't let me leave. You start all the fights. You're the one that gets physical first. I'm just trying to defend myself. And sometimes, I think one time he said that he held her, and she says that he headbutted her. He's like, that did not happen. I didn't headbutt her. But who knows if she's in there, raging while he's holding her, his head could hit her. Who knows? But, it's just, it's so hard contextually with some of this stuff. And then I did get very confused also because no sexual assault has been brought up before this. And now suddenly she's bringing up sexual assault. And it's like, what are we talking about? Sexual assault?
Whoa. I'm sorry, you said before this. What do you mean before this?
Well, I guess I don't know. I don't know when the sexual assault allegations first started. I know that they were brought up for this trial. I know it wasn't brought up during the divorce. That op-ed piece, the title of it was weird because it said that she was a sexual violence, but then she says domestic violence in the body. So I was thrown by that. I got the impression that there might be two different versions of that original op-ed, but I don't know. I don't know what the differences are. But that's what he said. So Johnny, he started to get cross-examined today, but it was going on right while we started this. So I think they were bringing that up, and her lawyer, who's got the worst name, Rottenborn, and that whenever Johnny Depp had the opportunity to say, well, no, Mr. Rottenborn, he said it just like, as if he was talking to an evil wizard. So it was very funny. But, he was trying to grill him because I think he's trying to get this whole thing thrown out. Like, how is this defamation? How is this article defamation? Specifically, this thing that she's getting sued over. And so he asked, what am I getting sued for? And he's like, well, I'm suing her over defamation and the various falsities she's used to bring my life to an end. So it feels like there's a little more. But, it centers around this article that just touches on some stuff. It doesn't say enough. And so he's just going through this whole thing, telling his history with her, how, I didn't do these things to her. I did not hurt her in the way. He didn't say I had no issues with drugs. It's just not the way she's characterizing them. And she used plenty herself, but it didn't count if it was her. It only counted if it was him,
Did you see that when they brought up that recording, that the defense for Amber Heard testified that it was evidence of his abuse because he vindictively released the recording to the press? After he had been accused of domestic abuse, he released the recording, because it was his recording, to the press. And they said that he was being vindictive and abusive in releasing the recording because it reflected poorly on her. And that this was further evidence that, see, it's just when those are the arguments on your side, and I felt the same way about the freaking Ryan Backus trial, is that as an outsider, I mean, the law needs to be the way that it is in many different ways, right? That there's a reason for the different kinds of evidence that we have. There's a reason that we try and prevent wrongful convictions, et cetera, et cetera. But when you're an outside viewer and you see some of the arguments that lawyers use, it becomes so obvious who is in the right. And it's the ones that are using completely batshit crazy arguments. They're not the right ones, right? In this case, it's, wow, the only reason that you would release this thing that makes it incredibly clear that Amber Heard is not only abusive, but admitting to the abuse is that you're vindictive. That's pretty good evidence. If that's your best argument, that you're not in the right. In the Ryan Backus trial, when you are accused of rape and you are actively trying to prove that the victim was more drunk than they were because it gets you out on a technicality, that's not good for your side in terms of the court of public opinion. And that I think is really what this trial is about, is that I find it very unlikely that he's going to end up winning this defamation case. It's also incredibly unlikely that the countersuit is going to be won. But what I think it is about is clearing Johnny Depp's name. And I think that is very likely what is going to happen. I think that online, his name has been cleared basically since this recording. I remember when that article first came out. I was very embroiled in the Me Too movement as a resident white knight. And so I was aware of when these things came out, and I saw online kind of the reaction to them. And there was, without a doubt, when Johnny Depp was kicked off of Pirates of the Caribbean 5 and when he resigned from The Secrets of Dumbledore, there was an online feeling that believed Amber Heard. And that is kind of the resting state of the movement. So it's not like those institutions can be blamed completely for not doing their due diligence or whatever. But one thing that was interesting is that some people with incredibly high amounts of credibility, with reputations that are sterling, came out in defense of Johnny Depp when you wouldn't expect them to. Before it was, I mean, we're not really taking a very controversial opinion right now by being pro Johnny Depp on this podcast. But people like Eddie Redmayne, who is, resident cutie. Eddie Redmayne is the main character from Fantastic Beasts. He's the one with the really cute smile. Yeah, that guy. Eddie Redmayne had a sterling, and still does, have a sterling reputation as just a kind of passive, nice boy, very cute. He's kind of got the same thing going for him right now as like J Law had before she went kind of crazy. So, and even before Depp had released this recording, Eddie Redmayne had come to his defense after he resigned from the movie. And I think that was largely greeted with surprise because, he had been on board with the Me Too movement in many different ways. He had taken all the right steps politically, and it was seen as kind of a misstep for him to take Depp's side in this. And when that happens, when somebody risks their reputation before it was in the zeitgeist to be pro Johnny Depp, to me that shows that they knew something was up beyond what we saw. And then when these things come out, like that recording and the various different details of the relationship and how everything went down, it only serves to confirm that existing idea that the people around Depp knew what was going on. So I think that is one kind of interesting thing. And then now you see, I think in 2020 really was when I saw most people on the pro Johnny Depp side, and even people that are very pro Me Too were on the pro Johnny Depp side and had kind of switched things around, and people were trying to get her off of Aquaman 2, get Amber Heard off of Aquaman 2. So the public opinion has changed, but I think that this is the final straw, is getting everything out there in the court of law so that I think that Johnny Depp is going to be able to work again. And really, it's like, how can we make this time up to Johnny Depp is the question. If we're fully convinced of the Depp side, which I think I'm like 90% there, I'm interested in when the defense brings their stuff to light, but I'm 90% there to like Depp is definitely there. And what's important is that both sides are saying completely different things, but one side, it seems like, isn't even hitting on all the facts that are there. They're kind of conveniently avoiding facts. when there are two people with completely different narratives, I think it is often the case that one of them is lying. I think there's a lot of cases where two people are saying different things and they both believe their side to be true. I don't know if I legitimately think that Amber Heard believes her side. And that is where things get really sticky for me, is that I think that she's a straight up sociopath. I think that she is unhinged. I think that she finds people to be close to that are past victims. I think that she may have. I believe that she was a victim of sexual assault early in her life more because of the way that she's acting now. Yep. I think that she may have been turned into something, and now she looks for people that can become victims. And I even see it in her current girlfriend, which her legal team is calling her friend.
So tell me about
current
that.
Girlfriend that was, yeah. So we're running over, but I will run through this right quick. Recently, Amber Heard's girlfriend or friend, depending on who you ask, was kicked out of the trial because Johnny Depp's legal team brought to the judge that she was live tweeting during the trial. If any of you have ever been to a courtroom, that is a big no-no. It's a straight up illegal. So big no-no. Yeah, she got kicked out of court, and she will now permanently be kicked out of the rest of the trial. Now, depending on who you ask, this is Amber Heard's girlfriend. She was live tweeting the trial. If you look at her Twitter, I actually have her Twitter up right now. If you look at her Twitter, she's a little bit of an interesting character.
Really?
And I think that maybe you would think, is this someone else that has given herself a little bit of a victim complex? I don't know. I mean, one, I find it very interesting to put in your bio that you're a Zionist. Props to you for having an opinion and sticking to it when it is not exactly, a cool thing to say.
So Zionist meaning that you believe Israel belongs to the Jews? That kind of Zionist? What kind of Zionist?
Zionist, I can look up the definition right now, but you're definitely on the right track. Zionist is a nationalist political ideology that called for the creation of a Jewish-only state and now supports the continued existence of Israel as such a state.
Right. So Jewish only. So ignore the Palestinians that are already there. It's not theirs. Okay.
And she's this whole journalist thing is related to her Substack articles down here. If you guys don't know what Substack is, it is supposed to be a website on which journalists are able to publish articles without the oversight of an editor or a larger institution that might censor what you're trying to say.
Okay.
Now, it is true there are a lot of great journalists that are on Substack. I personally, if I had an audience that was big enough to have a Substack, I would absolutely be on Substack. However, it is also a place where you can say anything that you want, which is the nature of these things. And so a lot of the writers on there have a tendency to be a little bit crazy. In the case of Eve Barlow, she talks a lot about BDS, which is boycott, divest, and what was the S? I should know this, but I don't.
And
boycott, divest, and sanctions.
What? Say it again. Sanctions.
So it is and sanctions. Yes, it's a pro-Palestine political movement that it looks to use those three tools as methods of undermining the power of the Israeli state to, I don't want to go too far into my opinions, but basically, it uses these tools, in order to aid the Palestinian side of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And what our friend Eve Barlow does, I do find this very interesting that she's Scottish, which is just like, in terms of being from a country that has a long-held, like, this is our land, stop trying to exert your rule over our land, it's historically our land, like Scotland and Scotland and the Republic of Ireland, I can't believe that you would also be a Zionist. And that. Anyway, just, I don't know, just interesting. But a lot of her articles are essentially trying to pin BDS as straight up anti-Semitic. So this is a pretty classic kind of victim-y way of throwing aside anything that is pro-Palestine is anti-Semitic, right? Because if you believe in a Jewish state, then the Jewish state can only be right because it is Jewish, and therefore if you're against the Jewish state, you're against Jews, therefore you're anti-Semitic. And this is kind of her whole thing. Her whole thing is talking about how being pro-Palestine is anti-Semitic, and then talking about Amber Heard, who is her girlfriend.
So I thought Bianca Booty was her girlfriend, but maybe not.
Yeah, that fizzled. So it is possible that Eve Barlow is just a friend. It depends. It depends. But, when you're taking your sides from New York Post, I just have a hard time.
I like how Ashley's question here. She said, "What about the trial makes you think he won't win though?" And she says that she had to type it that way, so then it said, "What about?"
Ashley, you are becoming a nobody asked legend. Well, what I think is going to be difficult is what the article looks like, that it doesn't call out Depp by name, and that he has to prove that her statements are factually false. And I think that the burden of proof that is on that is going to be very, very difficult. I think that he should win, but he's already lost in England. Now, our defamation laws are a little bit different than they are in England, but to prove that she believes her statements to be factually false is going to be difficult. And that's why I don't think he's going to win. Now, but this is, we get into this all the time with people, especially in fucking sports, where people, the result of a case is taken as, well, then that's the truth. Because a case was brought up and that's the truth. Just because Johnny Depp doesn't win doesn't mean that Amber Heard is not a vile, abusive piece of shit. It just means that the laws do not allow, there's not enough proof, there's not enough evidence for defamation. We're not even trying whether or not she's a vile, abusive piece of shit. But what we see all the time is that it is a little bit difficult with the court of public opinion when there is a trial to convince people that just because the result of a trial went one way doesn't mean that that is the truth of the matter. In rape cases, you have an unbelievably high burden of proof to get criminal charges. And so what you'll see a lot in the cases of sexual assault accusations against athletes is that there will be a civil case that is settled. And when it's settled, you don't get to hear the result of it. Now, it certainly isn't not guilty, nothing happened. But there's usually an exchange of money for the fact that no one has to say that they're guilty. So that's the civil case. And that's what will always happen in these sports civil cases, because one side has a ton of money and the other side doesn't.
Right.
In a criminal case, sorry.
What I find, let me talk. My turn.
Okay, you can talk. Yeah. Well, you are a woman, and we're talking about sexual assault, so maybe it's my job to shut up.
Okay. Ooh, there you go. No, I just want to say, like, when we're talking about civil cases like that with an athlete, a lot of times the woman is suddenly vilified for accepting the money, right? That means that that's all she was ever there for to begin with.
Yep.
Yep. And it's such a problem. Like, why is it not, well, we don't automatically go, well, he must be guilty if he paid. We go, oh, she was only in it for the money. He's just settling it so it goes away. It doesn't affect him. Fascinating.
And so what will happen, and this is what's about to fucking happen, I absolutely guarantee it, is what is about to happen with Deshaun Watson, who just got traded to the Browns, who has like 24 different accusations against him, is that the burden of proof for a criminal case is unbelievably high for sexual assault. And so even when everyone on the jury is like, I mean, it probably happened, or it definitely happened in some cases, It will go hung jury or not guilty because of the amount of evidence that's necessary. And the laws are that way. But what very, very good and well-paid PR managers will do is they will get a bunch of bots and a bunch of people on the internet to say, well, he was found not guilty, so he didn't do it, and this was a false accusation. And what that serves to do is make a bunch of people feel like they can't speak up because they'll be accused of falsely accusing someone if they don't win the trial. And it serves to show that, God, it just serves, it plays into the hands of these people that did commit these acts. So the result of a case does not necessarily mean what happened. It is what is legally possible to get done. That's what, God. And often it has to do with who has more money, if we're being completely honest. So the only fair trials are between two poor people, two middle-class people, or two rich people. Those are the only ones.
Well, we seem to have two rich people, but I have to question.
Thank God.
I don't know how rich she is. One would think she would have enough to buy to hire a good lawyer, and
She's
not
still
one
working.
called Rottenborn. Why did she? His name's Rottenborn. Don't you think that's a strike against you already?
But maybe it's like the story of the guy that was named Shirley or whatever, because she got to where she is, or is it a he?
It's a he.
I don't know. Because he got to where he is with that name, he's actually a better lawyer for it.
Maybe so. He said the woman just wanted money, and I'm always on the opposite end. See, Ashley, I think we could all learn something from Ashley. She does not assume that when a woman takes a settlement, then that means that the man is just paying to make her go away. She thinks he's paying because they're guilty, and I like that about Ashley. I need to be like Ashley.
That in the end, with those ones, it's always very difficult to tell who is on the right side and who is on the left. But the issue is that there's always ways that you can kind of get to it, right? When there was one accusation against Cosby, I think some people were like, well, he just wants the money, right? And then when there was 70, we were like, yeah, Cosby's probably guilty. And seriously, if you meet someone who doesn't think Cosby's guilty because he's not in prison right now, the reason he's not in prison right now is a technicality, okay? A technicality that very much should be the law. And the lawyers that prosecuted Cosby were fucking idiots for the evidence that they brought to trial. Fuck them. But Cosby is guilty. He's just not in prison. Deshaun Watson was accused by 24 different women. Come on.
That's a lot. Especially, the stories all sound the same. Do we think somebody coached them all to say the same thing? I guess if you're skeptical of the truth, then absolutely that's what you think. But then
maybe
if that
I don't know why they do Deshaun Watson. It's like what a weird random guy to do it to, right? It's like if we're gonna do it to somebody, let's do Tom Brady. Come on. But
but I think with Cosby, there was people that thought, well, these stories are so similar that they can't possibly be true. How could they all come? It's like, no, you're taking away the wrong thing.
That it's like looking at the MO of a serial killer and being like, well, these murders can't have possibly been done by the same person. They all had the same MO. What the fuck are you talking about? They learned how to get away with it, and then he was like, well, it ain't broke. I'm gonna keep fucking doing it. Give me a break. All right. This has been. Is there anything else that we want to talk about? Because I can smell the dinner.
You can smell the dinner? I think that we've hit all of it pretty much.
We've hit all of it.
We've pretty much hit it all. We've pretty much hit it all. I do just like, I don't know. There was, I sent you, I don't know if I sent it to you, but there was a part where the psychiatrist, I guess she had recorded her time with them as well. And, there was a back and forth between Johnny and Amber, where she also admitted to hitting him during those sessions with the psychiatrist, right? And the lawyer, went to the media and said, well, she was obviously just trying to placate him. That's why she was agreeing to what he was saying. But when, you listen, you hear him doing the same thing. He's placating her. It's just another one of those let me reverse what's really going on. He's the one placating, but I'm going to say you're the one placating. You know,
Totally.
I'm the one being abusive. I'm going to say you're the one being abusive. It just messes with my brain a little bit. It messes with my brain. Like, you can smell it's wrong. You can smell it's wrong, but sometimes you don't always have the language for it yet until you just keep diving further in. So that's all. That's all I want to say.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how it develops. And I would like to say thank you to all of our loyal viewers. I love each and every one of you, unless you think that what Mr. Incredible did was wrong.
I mean, it wasn't wrong. But did he do more good as an insurance salesman? That's the real question.
Possibly. Thank you very much, Diamond Girl. And I look forward to talking to you guys next week about a topic that we haven't decided on yet.
Yep. Thank you for keeping us company. It's been
Absolutely.
great. All right. Bye. Oh, wait.
Over
Should
and
we
out.
sing it out? Should we sing
Oh,
it out?
yeah, we should. Yeah.
Okay. And then
All
I'll
right, let's
forget
do it.
again. Okay.
Oh, yeah. It's
Nobody asked.
nobody asked.
Nobody asked.
Nobody asked.
Nobody asked.
Nobody asked.
Nobody.
There was not a person who asked, but then we answered anyway.
We talk about what we want. Nobody asked us.
We talk about some things, and 6 people listen.
Ooh, there was more than 6. Nobody. Oh,
Every
30
time.
seconds is so fast.
Every time. There's a number on the screen, woman.
I was distracted. I was enjoying myself. All right. See? Oh, all right. That's a scary face.
End the live.
Oh, I'm like, okay, bye.